Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's great to see you. This is a reading for Leo rising, or for those with significant Leo placements and are needing a neutral energy to help balance masculine and feminine energies within yourself. So Leo, just right off the bat, I was seeing sort of uh, like a scene playing out, where I feel like I was seeing you, but it might not be you. It could be also that you are seeing this in other people. So just take what resonates. I was seeing sort of like somebody who was perhaps feeling a little bit like self-conscious about being sort of like in a full expression is how I'm gonna put it. Because what I was kind of seeing was like the star card, right? Like in like the traditional tarot, the star card completely naked, right? It's that kind of energy, like feeling like very vulnerable or even like embarrassed maybe, or like there's it could be like it's like difficult emotions like perhaps shame, embarrassment, like vulnerability, that kind of thing, in being sort of like quote unquote naked. I feel like in terms of not literally, we're talking about like perhaps emotionally maybe, or whatever, however that resonates for you. Because I was seeing the star, which in the tarot is the Aquarius card, which is your opposite, Leo. It's your opposite sign. And so it could be something where it's like, maybe there's something that's requiring you to step out of your comfort zone in a really big way. Like something that's like, would put you on like either full display or like, full expression was what I was getting. I was also seeing from this deck the Despicable Face. We have Venus, just the split here. The Despicable Face card, which does talk about sort of like the parts of ourselves that we keep hidden from other people because of like difficult energies like shame or self-consciousness or like discomfort and all of that. So it could be something like that. Maybe there is an aspect of you that is feeling sort of like uncomfortable in being seen by other people. And it could also be like specifically people who are close to you is actually how it's coming through. Like your closest friends and family perhaps even like don't know this about you, or like if you were to tell them about it, or like to be on full display with these core people, it's feeling like that it would feel embarrassing to you is kind of how it's coming through. And I want to sort of like bring some reassurance into that energy. Because it's kind of coming through as being like somebody's like it could be fear or anxiety, like feeling fearful or anxious about being like cringy was the word I was giving. Like being cringy, like and like embarrassing. That's sort of how it's coming through. And the only thing that I can say about that is just from my personal experience that that's something that you just have to bear. It's just something that you have to sit in. It does pass, right? It does eventually pass. Like if we're just using like, for example, this channel, when I first started, I could barely watch any of my videos back. It was just so uncomfortable for me. Like this is horrible. This is like, why am I doing this? Like, and there's still days when I feel that, but it does get better. That's sort of like the only thing that I can, say about that. It does get better. It is something that you have to sort of just like sit with and work through. and it does pass. That's basically what I'm going to start with, Leo. So, I don't know. That might just be like a specific message for someone. I'm going to pull cards and we'll see what else wants to come out for Leo rising. The Whalesong resonating. That's so interesting. Okay, I have to read that one. Okay, whenever I think of Whalesong, I can't help it. I think of Finding Nemo, like Dory, who is just like so unself-conscious. Like there's no self-conscious bone in the character of Dory. Like even if it is embarrassing, you should do it anyway, is kind of how it's coming through. Because I feel like there are people around you that would be like, what are you doing, Leo? Like that kind of thing. It's like, I feel like there's a fear of that kind of response from people who are close to you. Like, what are you doing, Leo? Why are you being like that? You think you can speak whale? Like, that's like, it's coming through like that. Just ignore them. That's I know that's like easier said than done, but just ignore them. Okay. Remembering, harmonizing, resonating. There are moments in life when you have a sense of deja vu, that you've visited this place, these feelings, this person before, and you know that a new opportunity to dance has come around again. Yet there is a haunting quality to this. A melancholy of life's mysterious fragility is also underlined. Like a whale song that pleads for its simple notes to be matched by another, you have a short time to capture this essence and let it resonate in a way that is potentially transformative, but only if you don't turn away. Sometimes you may forget the moments of your humanity, your truest desires, because you've become so earthbound and calculating, striving and doing. You're so overstimulated by the chase and what you're exposed to, that, you forget your heart. I think that's a typo. You're so overstimulated by the chase, and when you're exposed to that, you forget your heart. Now it's time to jump in the water and play and be reminded of your creative self, your collaborative impulse to sing along, seek harmony, beauty, purpose, and meaning. At this moment, this is your exact invitation. You will achieve more than the plans you set in motion. If you use this opportunity to explore, be curious, and take a much-needed break from what your mind thinks it needs to accomplish, your heart is calling. Answer it. Okay, there was a lot coming through. So when I was seeing the star, actually, which I forgot to mention, it was actually a male, like a masculine energy. It wasn't, because traditional tarot's, the star's feminine. What I was seeing was like a masculine energy. So it could be, it doesn't mean that this is for somebody who is like masculine or male or a man. It feels more like there's some sort of action that perhaps you're needing to take, or I don't know. It's something that's like masculine energy within you, because everybody has masculine and feminine energy. This feels like a masculine representation of yourself, or like something that has to do with masculine energy that you're being asked to sort of do or explore or be in a full expression of. That can be especially uncomfortable if you are a woman, for example. So just keeping that in mind. But it doesn't have to be that. So anyways, there was a lot coming through here where it's kind of like, there was, for example, with the Finding Nemo and Dory, where it's like when she starts speaking whale, that scene in the first movie, right? Like she starts speaking whale, and that character, if you're not familiar, I'm pretty sure most people are, but in case you're not, Dory has like short-term memory loss, right? So she can't remember like really long things from like, she can't remember sort of short-term things. Her memory goes by quickly. But when she meets, like when she sees the whale, it's like she remembers that she knows how to speak whale, right? It's something like that. So maybe it's like you're encountering something that feels like a remembrance. You're remembering something. perhaps about like your soul, or like something about like an emotional experience or something like that that's resonating with you. It resonates with your soul. It could be like a past life thing. It could be anything, right? It's like when you see it, you know that this is familiar to you, or that you know it, or that you connect with it, but you may not be remembering how or why or whatever. And it's like, perhaps you're being called in this way, but there's a lot of like, I feel like either perhaps like mental or yeah, it kind of just feels like self-consciousness. I don't know how else to like I don't know, whatever. I'll just move on. I'll pull more cards. Something is calling you though. You're resonating with something that is familiar to you, that you've known before in the past, whatever that means to you. First breath, beginner's mind. Interesting, because it is, again, the beginner's mind, right? Like feeling like you're new at something. I'm not going to read this whole thing. Renewed curiosity and natural trust. It's time to leave the old stories and tales behind. You have arrived. Take a deep breath and another. There's nothing else you need to do but take in the new world that is revealing itself around you. Trust your natural curiosity. There's no need to dwell on how difficult the journey has been or how tight the passage to get to where you are now. Just take it all in and experience the awe and wonder of your arrival at this destination. Even if it is a familiar place you have come to many times before, try to experience it as if for the first time, for you are renewed and the old you is no longer your concern. Yeah, it's like try and forget, like Dory, try and forget, like have like a very short-term memory in terms of like what you are experiencing, because sometimes memory or past experiences can really put sort of like a very strong filter on how we experience new things, right? Like expecting the worst, for example, or expecting, whatever it is. If it's not expecting the worst, it's just expecting the same old outcome that you have had before. I feel like there's something here that's like really new, which is interesting, but it's resonating with your soul in a very familiar way. Like it's like comforting. Closing door, completion. There's something that is actually ending. Interesting. You're leaving something behind. You're closing the door on something. I feel like it has to do with whatever has been sort of like holding you back from this sort of Whalesong energy. Stranger, curiosity at the bottom of the deck. So the word curiosity is coming in again, like having sort of like a curious mindset. Maybe there's so it could be fear or just like anxiety about, and anxiety is something where it's like imagining the future and trying to be prepared for it. And it's the guidance here is not to sort of like perhaps like create narratives is just kind of like observe what is happening. Observe what is happening. Try not to judge what's happening as well. Just observe and don't let your mind fill in the blanks. If there's something that feels like uncertain, like, or you don't know what's happening, like you're confused about it, or like it's unclear, or it's like you just don't understand something, try not to let your mind fill in the blanks is how it's coming through. Because sometimes when we do that, we fill in the blanks with things that could be potentially like the root is anxiety, right? Like worry or fear or sadness or that something's wrong, that kind of thing. Try not to fill in the blanks with that and simply just like observe is how it's coming through. Moving past fear of differences, curiosity and acceptance. I'm not going to read that, but it feels like, so there's something new and different, right? There's something new and different, but that you are resonating with, which is interesting. It could also be something where it's like you're resonating with something that you did not think was the same as you, maybe, or that it's new and different. So if you're resonating with that, what does that mean about you? Or what does that mean about the other? Especially because the stranger to me can be Aquarius energy. Sorry, I'm getting like there is a Lord of the Rings show that came out recently, like not recently, like a year or two ago now, called Rings of Power. It's basically like basically a prequel to the Lord of the Rings series, but there's a character in there called the Stranger where he like arrives sort of mysteriously into this community of like hobbit-like creatures. They call him the Stranger, right? Because he sort of like lands in a meteor. He like arrives in a meteor. And there's one character who's very curious about the Stranger, like wanting to know where he came from, wanting to learn about him and who he is and like what language he speaks and all of that. But the people in the community, like this character had to hide the Stranger from the people in the community because the community would not understand. They would be fearful of the Stranger. It could be something like that for you, Leo. Maybe you're connecting with someone or something that is strange, right? Relative to your experience and to your community or whatever it is, they're strange or stranger. And I feel like maybe you're curious about it, or there's curiosity, or like you are actually resonating with them, the Stranger, in a way that your community might find disturbing. It's like this is something that your community or whatever, your closest friends, your family, would actually fear this energy. They would be afraid of it. Interesting. So again, that might be an assumption, Leo. Maybe you're assuming that your family or friends or whatever would be afraid of it. That might be sort of like your own fears. Like maybe you are afraid that this Stranger would be rejected by your friends and family. It could be. It could be that. I don't know. Or that, I don't know. Maybe there's embarrassment. I don't know. So we're gonna pull more cards for the Alchemy. Embarrassment's such a tough energy because it goes against our nature, right? Because we want to be accepted by the group. And embarrassment is an energy of being rejected, right? Being rejected by those that we want acceptance from. That's why I feel like Aquarius energy is coming in so strongly here, because Aquarius is an energy of like, sometimes can be sort of like outside of the group. There is a desire for Aquarius energy to belong as well, but oftentimes Aquarius energy is seen as like quirky or strange or eccentric or a stranger on the outside. Maybe you're dealing with an Aquarius or someone with Aquarius in their chart. Darkening. Oh, I love that card. It was reminding me of the weather today because we've had a lot of like sun recently, but today it's like thunderstorming and dark. It is kind of feeling cozy though. Like it's like a cozy warmth kind of feeling. I feel like something has transformed. Maybe you are feeling the need to withdraw from something. Well, the way that it's sitting on the table here is that like there's this bird is looking at the whale. Maybe you're withdrawing from something. You have Jupiter and Silver coming out next. Okay, I love this Jupiter with the first breath, beginner's mind, because this always gives me Jupiter energy. Even though there's tons of planets there, I feel like it's Jupiter. It's an expansion. So this is an expansion, but I actually feel like it might actually be bringing you away from what you know. Like, especially in that example of like in that Lord of the Rings show, The Rings of Power, it was an expansion for this character who discovered the stranger, because it was like she was discovering new language, new abilities through the stranger. But her community, what she knew, was going, like, that part was being sort of like, because I don't want to say lost here, but like here with the completion, closed door, and the silver, it feels like you're almost there. It feels, because I always see with the silver, there's like this part of the moon that hasn't been closed. There's still something like, maybe you're like, you're on the cusp of leaving something, but you haven't quite shut the door on it yet. I feel like with the silver card, because that's moon energy, there's a need to sort of like polish, it comes through with like polish your mirror, right? Like the reflections or how you see yourself. Cause it's also kind of coming through as being like, again, because maybe there's discomfort because like you're resonating with something that's other than what you thought you were, right? Like your whole life you thought you were one way, but then a stranger comes in and introduces, it doesn't have to be a stranger. I'm just saying that I'm just using the word that's on the card. It feels actually like something that you know, or someone that you know, but that they are different than you in whatever way. That's the thing. It feels uncomfortable because it's like this appears to be different from you, but if you're resonating with it, how is that different? Does that make sense? Because it's like attracts like, right? But also opposites attract. There's something about that. You are the same as this energy in some way, but you are also opposite to them. And so there's perhaps like a conflict there, like an inner conflict. Am I the same as this energy or am I different? It's both. You're both. You are the same and you are different. I feel like there's something about like closing the door on some chapter in your life here with the silver about like accepting who you are in all of its complexity, because it's kind of like maybe you're rejecting some aspect of yourself subconsciously, like this energy is so different than what you are used to, perhaps, that it like even could like cause like an internal struggle about like, okay, well, I don't know who I am anymore. That's extreme. That's an extreme example. But it's kind of coming through like that. Like there's like a it kind of is coming through with like shedding a skin, right? Like shedding a skin of yours, like identity, maybe like shedding an identity, but that the shedding of the skin actually allows you to expand, right? It allows you to grow. The Loam. This card talks about giving. What is it that you can give to a situation, which is interesting. And giving more than you think you are capable of giving. Because it may be something where like maybe there's a tendency to withdraw from this energy because it's it feels like you're seeing it from a distance. Maybe someone feels like they don't have anything to give, is kind of how it's coming through. The Sage card with Jupiter. This is feeling like a situation where somebody has too much experience with something. Too much knowledge, too much experience, and it's actually holding them back, because what's required here is like having short-term memory, forgetting what you know is how it's coming through. Forget what you know. It'll be the Retriever. That card has been coming up a lot. And just this energy in general of like something lost being returned. But the completion energy is like, okay, so it feels like something is, it actually feels like there's something being returned to you. The Whalesong, or something is returning to you. Whalesong resonating. There's just some lightning that just flashed when I said that. That's what's being returned to you. It's familiar, but perhaps you forgot about it, is kind of how it's coming through. Or if it's not forgot, maybe you forgot about it. Maybe you forgot how it feels. It's kind of coming through as being like somebody who like it's like for example, like if you, because I come from a family of immigrants basically, so like people who like immigrated to a different country, right? So they learn to speak the new language of the new country, and then hearing, like it could have been like a really long time, it's coming through as like hearing your mother tongue being spoken, but it's almost like you've been away from that energy for so long that you forgot about it. I can feel it in my heart. Because it feels kind of like perhaps like a homecoming, right? But with the silver and the completion, it's like maybe you were in sort of like the new place, or like the place that like you moved to, for example, right? Like, and so returning home, metaphorically, I don't know, you would have to leave behind something in order to return back to the thing that was lost. Perhaps you are in the process of that, but it's like the first breath energy, like it's like returning home, whatever that means to you. I'm putting that in quotations. But it's different than you remember, is how it's coming through. Like with the first breath, you're experiencing it. Perhaps it's changed, right? Like, just like, I'm getting so emotional right now. In a good way. It feels good. There's a lot of like deep emotions tied to this. I'm getting the number 41. Because when these two cards came out, I have to talk about numbers for a second to like get out of my emotions. 6121. And so when those two cards came out, I was expecting to see like 41, and that's this energy, right? It'll be the Retriever's number 41, which also adds to 5. Do you have Arvel the Parrot at the bottom of the deck? It's talking about, which is 50. This is also communication. It feels something like language or culture, like, because those are things that we connect to home, or like food. Someone who speaks your language. It could also be something like, so this, whatever this new thing is, it is you, right? It's part of you. You are part of it as well. But there may be almost like a self-consciousness in speaking that language again, right? Like speaking your mother tongue, whatever that means to you. Like, it's your native language, but maybe you've been out of practice for a while, right? It's kind of like, maybe it's almost like having to relearn something. That could be also embarrassing as well. Like something like, okay, that's finally we're getting to the point of it. For example, like my parents are Korean, but when I was a child, never actually learned to speak Korean because of embarrassment. I hated the way that my accent sounded, right? I couldn't bear the embarrassment of like struggling through the accent, my own accent. It could be something like that. Like feeling embarrassed about like your accent, so to speak, and speaking whatever this language is, like because you've been out of practice or something like that. And it's like there's no getting around that. You just have to do it. I don't know how else to if you just have to practice. That's just kind of how it's coming through. The Emperor. This is the masculine energy. I feel like you're being asked to like take some sort of action, Leo. I mean, I honestly, now that I'm older, because it is something like other people's opinions or things like that, like sort of witnessing you doing something that is out of your comfort zone can also be really like, it's not a fun experience at all. King of Pentacles. Got all this masculine energy. Hold on, I'm gonna pull cards out and then we'll talk about it. Okay, 9 of Pentacles and the Chariot. I see this Chariot card with this badger of being like having to go a different way than the crowd is. The Sun card and the 4 of Wands. That's so beautiful. Okay. I'm also kind of feeling like maybe you're feeling like, Leo, that there's no, it's not that. I feel like there may be a fear about a door that's closing. I want to say that it's not closing. It's waiting for you to walk through it. The door is not closing. It's like it's waiting for you to walk through it. But I feel like there's like an energy here. It could also be, because I'm seeing this as like the darkening energy with the 9 of Pentacles. Because sometimes I see this as being like being really comfortable where you are. Like not wanting to like move. Not wanting to move. Perhaps, especially with the darkening, like feeling comfortable. Or that there's energies around you that are very stable with the King of Pentacles and the 9 of Pentacles. Maybe you're having to like leave something that's very stable in order to go in this direction. Because I'm seeing this sort of Chariot energy, the badger, moving away from this energy, the 9 of Pentacles. This could also be something like an idea of success, or like what other people consider to be successful. Maybe it could just be like a concept, or like like an idea of success is how it's coming through. Or perhaps there are like things that you are proud of as well, like things that you have accomplished that actually perhaps are not satisfying to you anymore, or that you're going in a different direction than that. It's like, it's also coming through with like, again, something where it's like, let's say you have a very stable, productive, happy, or whatever. You're the King of Pentacles. You're the King of Pentacles. You're the Emperor in whatever phase of your life this is talking about. I feel like this is like where you are right now, but you're being called in a different direction. And I feel like people around you, like your friends and family, would see this change and be like, what are you doing, Leo? What are you doing? Why would you leave this behind? Why would you, like everyone would be lucky to be in your position is how it's coming through. But I feel like you're not, there's something else that's calling you is how it's feeling. And it's like, you have to follow your heart here, Leo, as cliche as that sounds, because Leo is the heart, rules over the heart. Especially with Ilby the Retriever, it's feeling like heart energy, and it feels like it's also going against what you know with the Sage. All of your past experiences, all of your logical thinking mind, perhaps, all of the things that society tells us that we have to do in order to be successful, all of that it's going against all of that. That's why it's so uncomfortable. But it's like here you have to walk through this portal here with the sun. That's where it is. That's the place that you need to go. It's pointing at it. There's something in your life that's pointing directly at what it is that you want. There's a path for you. I feel like you've seen it. You have seen the path already, Leo. The Magician. Perhaps you're waiting for inspiration. Like a lightning strike, right? Like you're waiting for inspiration. You're waiting for the right time. It's interesting. I feel like you're very much connected to divine timing at the moment. Divine timing is actually working in your favor at the moment. So it's like I feel like you don't have to stress about like when is the right time. You will know. It'll be clear to you. It's like because I feel like you have a lot of plans or you have a lot of ideas, and the issue might be like when to execute it, when to sort of go through with what, like that kind of thing. And it will be made clear to you what part needs to be done when to complete whatever task it is. I'm just seeing like a to-do list, but it's out of order. That's interesting. It's like a to-do list, but you don't necessarily have to do it in that order, if that makes sense. It's like the universe will tell you which one you have to do next, is how it's coming through. Okay, Queen of Swords. Knight of Cups, Page of Pentacles. Oh, that's a lot of like people energies, right? Like Queen of Swords, Knight of Cups, Page of Pentacles. Maybe there are a lot of moving parts, or it's also coming through as like a lot of individuals. Like, okay, so it could be something like friends and family or community or whatever it is. Could be work, could be coworkers, I don't know. That are all at different stages, it kind of feels like. You have a queen, a knight, and a page. And they're all in different elements as well. They're all in different elements. Each one has a strength, is how it's coming through. I don't know. Are you being asked to like, okay, so there's a lot of different elements, a lot of moving parts. A lot of different strengths. I feel like there's something here about like maybe you're managing a group, or if it's not a group, it's like you're managing a whole bunch of different tasks that you have to do, or even like managing different roles that you play in all of these different people's lives. Like to one person, you're the Queen of Swords. To another, you're the Knight of Cups. To another, you're a Page of Pentacles. Like it's coming through as like there's like different roles or different like that requires different energy from you, right? Like I'm actually kind of seeing though. So what's missing here? The wands. But you have here the Four of Wands. Maybe that's what's being returned to you, like some form of like celebration or union or happiness, satisfaction. The magpies to me represent like good luck or a visit from a friend. Perhaps someone you haven't seen in a long time. The raccoon is also a symbol of curiosity as well, right? Try and be curious about this. I feel like there's also like people around you that are like revealing different aspects of themselves to you, because it kind of feels like, especially with its like expectations and like what you know with the sage, and trying to forget that, because it could be something like about like people in your life or the role that you play in those people's lives, that may actually be changing or shifting, where it's like people may be changing the way that they approach you or how they interact with you. And it may be kind of surprising how this energy is shifting around you. Like, because it may be that there are like your close relationship, friends and family may actually be noticing this change within you. It's like they see that you are resonating with something. You may not be showing this to them, right? Because it's like the thing that you don't want other people to see. But on some level, it's changing how you show up. Regardless of whether or not you want other people to know that about you, it is changing you. And so it could be that other people are starting to like change as well around you, because it's like they're now resonating with your new frequency. That's how it's coming through here at the Magician. So it's like they're changing the way that there's a change. I don't know if they're necessarily changing, but there's a change in the way that these energies are interacting with you in order to like clear your path, is how it's feeling. They're actually making space for you as well. Your friends and family, the ones that you feel embarrassed to share this aspect of you with, they're actually holding space for you, is kind of how it's feeling. Because I feel like someone's afraid of judgment from their friends and family, or whatever, close group, community, workplace, whatever it is for you. Fearing judgment from that group, when that group is actually already like holding space for you. It's really beautiful. They're already accepting this part of you. It's almost like they know already. On some level, they already know. And you don't have to be like fearful about actually revealing it, is kind of how it's like they already know in a good way. They're holding space for you. King of Cups, Page of Wands. Okay, you have like, there's so many people in this. I'm feeling this as people. Like, because from the Magician, you just have a whole bunch of like the court cards. Queen, Knight, Page, King, Page. Again. But, okay, because here's the Wands, right? I feel like there's something about like, there's an aspect of the Wands energy that you're not wanting to reveal. This is what's hidden. Something about the Wands energy. So it could be some sort of like, it could be creativity, it could be passion, could be sexuality, it could be inspiration, anything that's Wands related for you, however that resonates. There's an aspect of that you are feeling perhaps embarrassed about. I'm just gonna phrase it like that. With the King of Cups, perhaps like trying to like maintain balance is how it's coming through. Perhaps trying to use water as well to like temper that. Here's the Whalesong resonating. I feel like this aspect of you is emerging. It's not something that, I feel like it's not something that you can keep hidden for very long. Not to stress anyone out, but it's kind of like the stranger energy. If we're talking about that Lord of the Rings show again, the stranger energy, like it's a giant stranger. How long can you hide that from your friends and family? It's kind of going through like that. And I feel like there's wanting to come in like a reassurance about they're going to accept this energy. It may be your own fears that are sort of like imagining the worst, that there's going to be fear of rejection. And perhaps at first there might be. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. I feel like there may at the beginning be rejection and fear and like all of that. But eventually I do think that it will be like, on some level, I feel like whoever it is that you're feeling the fear of judgment from, they already know on some level. Energetically, they already know. They can already sense and feel this within you. And they're holding space for you. All of these are really like loving and supportive cards. I feel like it's going to be better than you think it is. It's going to like be like celebratory. I feel like it's also going to be like a huge relief to just sort of like get it out. And if it's like a fear of judgment, I feel like you have nothing to worry about. These people like love and respect you, and give them credit for that. Give them more credit. I feel like you're not giving them enough credit for loving you, basically. There's so much love and support here for you. I have to end it with this Knight of Pentacles, another court card. The Knight of Pentacles has been coming up so much recently as well. It talks about reliability and stability, being very steady. And with the donkey here, perhaps a little stubborn as well, in a good way. It will require a little bit of stubbornness, is how it's coming through. Whatever it is that you're pursuing or wanting to pursue will require your stubbornness and determination. Okay. Leo, I'm going to end it there. I'm going to pull just one card from this new deck that I have. It's called Animal Apothecary. This new deck's a little bit stubborn. That's it. That's like... Okay, here we go. See beyond the past. With the swan, there's a lot of water and reflection here. I'm going to read what that says. Number 23. See beyond the past. I feel like there are past energies that are holding you back. The beautiful black swan. The fable of the ugly duckling tells of a baby swan that nested with baby ducks. All the ducks made fun of little swan for how different he looked, which made him feel inherently not good enough. This is, again, more of that energy of like self-consciousness, right? Okay. Little swan compared himself to what a duck should look like rather than own the nature of his true self, a swan. Sadly, little swan began to assume the identity of the ugly duckling. As time went on, little swan grew and became the most beautiful black swan, and some would even say more magnificent than the common ducks that bullied him. This card is the story of what happened to the black swan as an adult. Reflected in the water is his heartbroken child self. Despite how gorgeous black swan became, he suffered from severe shame and feelings of unworthiness. He could not see the glorious truth of himself. He became crippled by the delusion that something was inherently wrong with him. He believed a wicked distortion that diminished his worth. He was utterly unaware of his captivating beauty and could honor neither himself nor the gifts the great mystery bestowed upon him. He became obsessed with outside validation and compared himself to other winged creatures. The ugly duckling finally woke up to his true self as the beautiful black swan and asks you to do the same. Swan's medicine asks you to accept that you feel your insecurities, but do not submit to them. Whenever you feel small, it is not reality. It is the old story and the programming that brainwashed you. Please wake up from the illusion and honor what the Great Spirit gifted you, the gift of yourself. No one in the world is like you. Own that you are a rare miracle. That basically just summarized the entire message. You are a black swan, and I feel like there are past energies of being sort of like feeling shame about an aspect of who you are that is actually absolutely gorgeous and that you should accept and act like bring out into the world. But if you don't accept this part of yourself, you're just gonna be stuck in the past, right? That's kind of how it's coming through. So I'm gonna leave it there, Leo. I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. I would love to hear from you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.